London calling YouTube, London calling everyone. My name is Alex, and this week I have been mostly shipping characters played by the same actor, so quite a lot of Benedict Cumberbatch on Benedict Cumberbatch, which does actually include having to imagine the technicalities of human on dragon sex. And the bun, this week you have been mostly shipping?
This week I have been mostly shipping Socrastotle, because all that philosophy getting all sexy in the bedroom.
Hee hee. And Koki?
Actually, I just found myself thinking about Sherlock and Smog just because of the internal genitalia thing. But what I've personally been shipping, I suppose, from Kill la Kill, Mako and Gamagori, which is pretty much made canon, and Tumblr exploded, even though it's the most random couple ever. I know no one here except Genesis watches Kill la Kill and is aware of that ship, but yes. Makogami, man.
And speaking of Jen, our new guest, introduce yourself, and this week you have been mostly shipping.
Hello, my name is Jen, and this week I've been mostly shipping the Doctor with the Doctors. All at once.
All the Doctors, and the Doctor is literally fucking himself.
It's a gangbang of the Doctor.
Hooray! An onanistic gangbang.
Yes, it should be called the gangbang of the Doctor.
I think we need to suggest that to Stephen Moffat. So, without further ado, our first topic is gender on Facebook and the Tea Party. Now, I know two of you have actually read this article. For anybody out there who doesn't know, Facebook, depending on where you live, either has changed or is changing the gender options on gender identity. Basically, there are now 50-plus options. I can't see this. I've heard about it, and I can't see it on my stupid British Facebook. Not everyone in America has it yet either. But, of course, there is a predictably stupid reaction from the Tea Party. All I really knew, being over here in the UK, about the Tea Party is that Sarah Palin's in it. It wasn't until I read this article that I realised that Sarah Palin must actually be the brains of the operation. Most of the Tea Party, including the author of this article, give her the nickname Professor. So anyway, they don't... Oh God, I'm trying to go through this article linked in the description to find what is wrong with all the things that are wrong with this article. It's but I don't know. I want to hand this over, and I'll tell you what. This time around, I'll go from alphabet to reverse alphabet, but we'll start with alphabetical, beginning with beginning. And I need to learn my alphabet. Beginning with Bun. You've read this article, haven't you?
Yes, I have, and well, allow me to start with my first statement, which is... Okay, now my second statement.
Okay.
This sadly is basically the viewpoint of, like, every person over the age of 35 in America right now. Some people younger than that. I kind of expected this reaction, but the thing that pisses me off the most is not the closed-mindedness, surprisingly, but rather the fact that they're acting like the whole genderqueer, and just different genders in general, is some kind of new, like, cool trend, when in reality, anybody who is not in the gender binary is really a minority within a minority, because most of the binary people in the trans community think we don't exist. And also, non-binary genders have existed since, like, ancient Egypt. So the idea that this is just some crap that we're making up is a total fallacy, and, like, why does the Tea Party still exist? I agree. Palin must be the brains of the operation.
Yes. And Koki?
Yes, I'm looking at this article that you're reading, and it says, why not offer a grizzly bear option? And it talks about if a person dresses as a grizzly bear and starts tipping over trash cans. One, I'm all for that. Actually, when the gender option came up, I tried to give myself pirate as a gender. Unfortunately, that wasn't allowed. So I gave myself 4 genders. I gave myself cisgender male, cis man, cisgender man, and cis male. Yes, because the redundancy department of redundancy. But I think it's awesome. I love the idea. Right now I think it's set that you put male, female, or custom. And when you have custom, you can fill in the blank, and they offer, like, 50 options. And, you know, they also ask about pronouns, which is important because, you know, not everyone's okay with he or she. They only have they, which I guess is probably what's going to be accepted as the gender-neutral pronoun, though I've heard some other cool ones like Z or Zer. But on the Tea Party, I'm looking at this article, and, yeah, it's saying we shouldn't humor people in their delusions. The idea that trans people are just deluded, and I think that's just kind of ironic coming from a group like the Tea Party, which obviously have members that entertain a great number of delusions, from conspiracy theories to creationism, and they can't all believe that, so they all acknowledge that large segments of their own movement embrace delusions. But then to call, you know, gender identities that have been, well, acknowledged and are acknowledged in various cultures all over the world delusions is, yeah. Point is, Tea Party's stupid. Gender options awesome. Why can't I be a pirate? I don't know.
What I find ironic about the grizzly bear comment is that someone in the comment section says, basically, we'll give them what they want then. Send them out into the wild to do this, that, and the other. So, yeah, you referred to that. But the thing is, like, well, then you would be treating them how they've asked to be treated. So the problem is that you don't. Although why you would compare being another species with being another gender, I don't know, because presumably you would want to have sex with a man or sex with a woman, but you don't want to have sex with a grizzly bear, or maybe you do.
Speak for yourself, yeah.
But so we've now gone into yet more into species sex. And God, this article, if I had, it would have taken me an afternoon to underline everything that was wrong with this. They also keep putting progressive in inverted commas when I don't know quite what they mean by that, but I don't think they know either. But yeah, but I think one good thing, or not good thing, but comforting thing to remember is that this is just preaching to the converted. This won't dumbify anyone. This is for Tea Party people who just want to continue living in their little world. As they inevitably will. And Jen, I appreciate that you haven't had a chance to properly read the article, but you've probably gathered enough from what we've said. So do you have any input?
Well, I was reading it, especially that part about the grizzly bear thing, and my first reaction was, I mean, I'm a trans woman, and also I am a biology major. And what I find sort of hilarious is that, you know, when people make statements where, you know, oh, there's no basis for this and whatever, even though science has, you know, these answers and whatnot, I was thinking, you know, I would love to point it out to these guys. But then I remember these are the same people who basically deny that climate change is a thing, even though there's a huge scientific basis for it. They deny so much science, the Tea Party, that honestly, I guess it's not really worth it to bring up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah? Okay. Does anybody else have any final thoughts to throw out there on that topic?
Oh, yes. That's it.
Yes. That's very, very eloquent. So, okay, that definitely covers all bases. So, I guess I'll move on to... here's a good one. On a sort of, well, I was going to say lighter note, but we have a bit of a showbiz story, but at least we have 3 Whovians in the room, and I bumped this up to get this. Karen Gillan, actress, for anyone who doesn't know, played Amy Pond in Doctor Who for 3 years, has now gone on into movies, has spoken out to defend Stephen Moffat, the showrunner of Doctor Who, to say that Doctor Who isn't sexist, or at least she doesn't think Doctor Who is sexist, or that Stephen Moffat's writing is sexist. And she said something along the lines of, I don't know what the problem is, I don't know what people are complaining about. I personally would say I find Stephen Moffat's comments in interviews more problematic than anything in the actual show, where I do think he has said things that are sexist. I think he has said things that are queerphobic. He seems to be unaware of it. Very stuck in an old-fashioned kind of mindset. Worst thing I think ever I think his worst comment was something like saying that we live in a society that lacks respect for anything male. The most problematical comment. Worst thing in the show is probably The Lion, the Witch, The Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe, a not very good Christmas special, very forgettable. But there's this assertion that a woman who has children is better than a woman who doesn't. Which is a terrible thing to put into a TV show, especially one watched by the young. And I'll go in reverse this time. So, Jen, do you see any sexism in the writing of Doctor Who, and do you think that Moffat is sexist, or do you think Karen Gillan is right to defend Stephen Moffat?
I have seen some things that do come off as sexist. A lot of them seem to be more, I guess, things that I've taken more as jokes than anything else. To be fair, though, I haven't read many of Moffat's interviews, though, which apparently that's what you say is the place where it really stands out. I've noticed that when you compare Moffat's to Russell T Davies, and I actually like Moffat as a writer better than Russell T Davies, but I've noticed that when you compare Moffat's writing to Russell T Davies, there's sort of there's a less of an emphasis on, the women in Moffat's writing as compared to Russell T's.
Yeah, I think that is true. Although he does like to put in white weddings and babies and those sort of things, which admittedly audiences do like. But it's like, we've got to have a wedding for the season finale. I think he's done that twice. I'm not objecting to married or condemning people who get married. I would also say there is a thing called the Bechdel test, which I don't know if everybody knows what that is. But basically, is there more than one main female character, like a woman character who has a name, for example? Do they talk to each other at any point? And do they talk about anything other than a man or men? Russell T Davies fails less than 10% of the time. Stephen Moffat fails at least 50% of the time. So, Koki, your take on Moffat, sexism, and Doctor Who?
Well, the Bechdel test is a nice quantifiable metric. I can't say this is something I've thought about terribly great deal, but obviously the Doctor and the role that he's consistently played is something that already establishes a certain gender norm. The Doctor's always male, and he has a tendency of picking up female assistants. I mean, yeah, occasionally there's Mickey and Rory, but they usually come as part of the package of the female companion. Some of them are dynamic, some of them need saving, but I guess it's something that when there was a regeneration, everyone was talking about. Well, it's already established within the universe that a male Doctor could regenerate into a female one, or vice versa. They haven't really mixed that up. So yeah, I definitely see, some gender normative, or maybe not gender normative isn't the right word, but they certainly have a very established niche, a very gendered sort of narrative. So yeah, I suppose they could mix that up. That's really all I have to say on the matter. I don't know. I follow the show, but I haven't really paid that much attention to how well developed the characters are. Yeah, I can't. Nothing's coming to mind. Sorry.
Yeah, I suppose the thing about Doctor Who is it does go all the way back to 1963, A former Dr. Colin Baker from the classic series actually gave an interview recently where he basically said that the Doctor should be a woman, but he said the BBC were quote-unquote too timid. So whether we will be seeing a woman Doctor, probably, but then the thing is, I think Moffat would give her a sonic handbag and a fetishized version of a Doctor Who costume, rather than just basically changing the pronouns and basically writing the Doctor as the Doctor, apart from pronouns and how people would react to a woman Doctor in certain parts of history. I think those things would change, but I wouldn't. I'm not the first person online to make this point. Could you trust Moffat to do it? So, Bun, your take.
Well, addressing the sexism in general, and Karen Gillan's remark, I think that it's different when you're actually playing a character, and I think there might be a bit of bias from that viewpoint. Obviously, as someone who's playing the character, she may not perceive the way she's acting as Amy Pond to be, like, overly sexualized or some kind of sexist character. And personally, I think Amy Pond had her moments where she was really admirable, just like River Song and every other character. But when it comes to the Bechdel test, like, if you notice, the only thing Amy Pond and River Song talk about is the Doctor. Which obviously is understandable considering he's the main character and all, but, I mean, there's other things that happen. That, like, the fact that, you know, River Song is basically older than her mom. That's kind of a topic of conversation. So, like, I don't know. I can defend Karen Gillan to a point because I understand having a connection and kind of personal bias towards something, especially if you've been doing it for a really long time. And I do agree that a lot more of the sexism does come from Moffat's outward comments, and it especially comes out in his writing for Sherlock a lot more. But all in all, I think that it's kind of a half-and-half situation. In terms of whether or not we can trust Moffat writing a female Doctor, you're funny.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to defend Moffat over the past couple of years because he's had to oversee the build-up to the 50th and the 50th itself, where there's a lot of emphasis on the legend of Doctor Who, where it's got to be, this is the hero that we've loved for 50 years, which might excuse the sort of, if the Doctor isn't on screen, everyone's talking about the Doctor kind of thing. So I wonder if now we'll finally see an end to that constant, isn't the Doctor lovely? Yes, the Doctor's great. Thing, which obviously did feature a lot. And yes, did River and Amy ever really talk about anything other than the Doctor?
I think a larger question is, if two female characters are talking about Capaldi's eyebrows, are they really still talking about the Doctor?
That is a very, very good point.
Because they're technically an entity within themselves. Like, I think we can safely say that we actually have two Doctors this season.
But there's two eyebrows, there's three.
Oh, good point. Each of them is actually just a very small country within the UK.
I don't know why, but now I'm imagining, like, talking about any other anatomy part. Like, have you seen his dick? His dick is... Yeah. That totally passes the Beck test.
Well, you know, was it like 8 years ago now that Jackie Tyler asked the question, is there anything else he's got two of? And that question has never been answered to this day. Okay. Any more remarks on sexism in Doctor Who?
Nope, all good here.
I miss Nicky. He should be
I miss the 9th Doctor because he was my first.
Oh, that's the thing. You're a young hooligan. But, yes, Eccleston was good. I could have done with more of Eccleston. It was sad when he went. I don't know, actually, which of the new series Doctors I prefer. It's strange for me. The only thing I can say is that I get emotional, even though in my lifetime I've seen so many Doctors come and go. And I even got emotional over seeing the 8th Doctor die, when we only actually had him on screen for an hour and a half. Well, not even that.
I got emotional even when I saw Matt Smith sneeze into another Doctor.
Yes, don't blink. Blink and you'll miss the regeneration.
Like, you'd think that they would play that up more, but nope.
There was like a huge Kamehameha wave that he fired at all of the Daleks.
But that's the thing. He was supposed to die on the clock tower dramatically, and then they decided they wanted a goodbye speech, and a cameo from Karen Gillan had already been discussed. So they had to make up this rather Deus Ex Machina idea of, it's a reboot, so I'm going to be normal for a little bit. And then, so yeah, I think it's confirmed that a lot of stuff was added. I do like the final Matt Smith speech, so I'll forgive that last scene.
That made me cry.
So philosophical.
I will always remember when the Doctor was me. But when you get to my age, though, it's like I can't believe it was 4 years ago that David Tennant left. It's like, well, it's one of those things that I put in that category of, that just happened. That happened last week. Okay, the next topic is, I'm afraid, there's a Disney film out, which is very successful. I was reliably informed by a child today, because I was around my friend's house, that Frozen is an absolutely great film. It has, however, pissed off the conservative right in America, but doesn't everything. I wanted to get a copy. I wanted to watch it. I didn't have time. And I know that it's very successful because of this song called Let It Go, which has struck a chord particularly with young women and girls, and it's theorized it's because they see it as about empowerment and individuality. There's an article by, sorry, Coke, it's another Mormon. It's the well-behaved Mormon woman.
Yeah.
This is clearly pro-gay propaganda undermining the morality of America. Okay, returning to the alphabetical system. The Bun, your thoughts on Frozen and the claims that it is pro-gay propaganda destroying society?
Okay, well, I will say that it is definitely not pro-gay propaganda. However, I should make the remark that Frozen was initially supposed to be made after the story The Snow Queen, which was written during the time of which the actual story is set, and in this story, it revolved around platonic love and the main character, who wasn't named Anna, going to save her brother from the Snow Queen with her group of racially diverse female friends. And, of course, they whitewashed the hell out of this, and all of the white fans of Disney are defending it as per usual. But my goddess, Idina Menzel, who voices the character Elsa, the song is very empowering, and the point they were trying to make with Elsa was actually about a character that has neuroses and suffers from depression because of this power that she has. So that was one aspect of the movie that was actually very good. And, I mean, honestly, I think that now that the well-behaved Mormon woman and every other Mormon has learned how to use the internet, they're just kind of finding anything to complain about. They're like, what? It has animation? It must be evil! So, you know, and Idina Menzel actually did play a lesbian in Rent, so you never know.
I love Idina Menzel purely for the original cast recording of Wicked. I'm a massive Wicked fan. It's like in my top 3 musicals of all time.
Oh, yeah.
So I may watch Frozen purely for her now. Okay, so, Koki, I don't know if you've seen Frozen, but you've read the article. What do you think?
Yeah, I didn't have an opportunity to see it. there is this scene that I guess is that everyone's sort of buzzing about, where you see a family, and I guess a lot of people seem to see a same-sex, family or whatever, or not same-sex family, but, they seem to be looking at two of the male characters and assuming that they are the parents.
It was said that they are.
They are the parents?
It was confirmed by Disney that they are, in fact, the parents.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say, maybe they're just assuming that this younger woman is a daughter when she could very well be the mother. Okay. Yeah, no, because that's what I was just sort of seems like ambiguous as hell, but Disney's come forward. Okay, but, Mormons will continue to push the family values thing, and it's not just Mormons, it's, the American right, because family values apparently are limited to heterosexuals because of reasons. Actually, they don't really use the term family values for anything other than heterosexual favoritism over gays, really. Like, what the hell else? They don't talk about divorce. They don't talk about fidelity. Yeah. But, I guess I don't have a lot to say on the matter. I saw the article, and I just feel very sad for this woman. But, meh.
But she's the well-behaved Mormon woman. We're only allowed to say it like that.
Okay. I feel bad for this well-behaved Mormon woman. Mostly because, my own memory of my own experiences with the church and, the kind of commitments that people are expected to make, that people aren't expected to make, people have to make, as part of the whole temple routine. And so, she could very well feel like it's her job to be soapboxing on the internet over this kind of thing, which is kind of sad, but yeah.
At least she didn't do it in the medium of song. But
now
yeah,
I'm kind of interested in the Mormon Tabernacle Choir if they have something to sing on the matter.
And 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Disney, because we were talking about, and you were on, Koki, they had a same-sex couple on one of their TV shows, and it resulted in death threats being sent to a child actor.
Yes.
But, so, yes, Disney are trying.
Think of the children.
They're definitely trying in the realm of homosexuality, but the racism continues.
Yeah. Okay, Jen, I don't know if you've seen Frozen, but your thoughts, if you have any?
Okay, I haven't seen it. I know nothing about it. I haven't read the article, but I have to say that if the conservative right is getting pissed off about it, I'm going to watch it.
Yay!
We should totally have a screening of it, yes.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. We are all going to watch this film now, so that's settled then.
Right now?
Well, no, we're in the middle of a show right now.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
After the show, but the bun has to rush off, unfortunately.
Yep, going to be a weird indie film at 11 o'clock at night, because, that's what you do in Chicago on Saturdays.
Okay, and our next topic is something that's been fairly big recently, which is Russell Brand. Well, let's call him a controversial figure. You love him or you hate him. Hasn't been quite as radical recently, but he's brought up drugs legalization, and he's pointed to countries like Switzerland and Portugal, where they don't criminalize drug addiction or drug addicts, and the fact that drug addiction is down, death from overdoses is down, contracting HIV and AIDS from the use of drugs is down. But he's pessimistic. He says that he thinks it'll be another 10, 20 years before we actually see this happen. Now, I actually support this because, hey, there's evidence, so let's stop this war on drugs. It's failed. And there is mounting evidence, very clear evidence, certainly in the US, that the quote-unquote war on drugs has failed, and there are better ways of dealing with the problem. I'll say, personally, I don't like it if I'm out somewhere like Brick Lane, where literally every 2 minutes you're pestered by someone. But that's aggressive. That's an aggressive, well, they call them pushers. I mean, and I can see why, if you're just going out, for a night out or the curry, I don't want to be approached like that. Now, if I have people from out of town, they're not used to it, they're intimidated by it, but actually punishing people for taking drugs, even especially the harder drugs like crack and heroin, why are we still doing it when it just does not work? That's my 2 cents. So, going in reverse alphabetism this time, starting with Jen.
Okay, so what exactly do you want in my response, if I might ask?
Oh, what's your opinion on whether drugs should be legalized or not? And in either way, do you think this is something that's likely to happen sooner rather than later?
I mean, cannabis alone I don't see being legalized anytime soon, let alone something like, say, PCP or heroin. But I have to say that I think harm minimization, cost efficiency and whatnot, legalizing pretty much all drugs is, I guess, the best thing to do, especially, say you take, drugs that you're not going to likely harm other people when taking, then yeah, definitely. We spend, at least here in the United States, we spend more money fighting drugs than we do helping people recover from drugs. And I'm sure with legalization that we'll save money. But there are some drugs, say bath salts, for example, that when you take them, you're likely to harm other people, and that's not really a good thing. And I think with those drugs specifically, if you are to legally do them, I think they have to be highly controlled to the point where, you would have to go into a specific building to, do your help with your addiction, but at the same time not being able to leave until your high is gone.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't really see the harm because we spend way too much, especially here in the United States, on fighting drugs when we should be looking at this as a medical issue.
Definitely, I think that. Yeah. Could also point out one of the things that's come up is regulation. So cleaner, safer versions of the drug, rather than being at the mercy of a criminal. Where obviously any kind of prohibition creates a criminal industry.
Yeah, I knew someone who actually ended up being addicted on harder drugs because his drug dealer laced his cannabis with harder drugs.
Right. So if cannabis is a gateway drug, it's because you have to buy it from a criminal.
Yeah.
Yep. Koki?
You're kind of preaching to the choir here. I mean, if we're going to treat these like dangerous substances, okay, treat them like dangerous substances. Obviously, there's a risk in the matter. But, has this criminalizing nonviolent offenders shown to reduce drug use or drug addiction or, harm in any way? I'm tempted to say no, especially not within the United States where, this whole tough on drugs, tough on crime thing, people are being kept in jail longer than ever. Though I suppose that's a problem independent of the drug legalization issue. But I think that resources can be better allocated if we genuinely want to improve the health of the society or reduce harm to society. As to how soon this is going to happen, I'm assuming he was speaking for the UK.
I think, yeah.
Oh, what?
I think mainly the UK, but Western countries that are reasonably similar, so I think to some extent the US. Sorry, carry on.
Okay, no, I was going to say that since some individual US states have gone forward with legalization, at least to some capacity, and even with the legalization for medicinal and not recreational use, there's been some controversy with the federal government intervening. So because of the complications that have been emerging from, states having them legalized, yet the federal government still has their drug policy. I am tempted to say that in the near future we can see some sort of federal re-envisioning of the drug policy, just because there's that much of a conflict within the United States because, of all of the separate entities. I could probably still see it being illegal in various states, but most of the states, but at least on the federal level, it's pretty evident that they're going to have to rethink their policy soon. So I'm a bit more optimistic in regards to the United States federal drug policy.
Okay, and the bum.
It's really a touchy subject. I think, personally, being someone who has experimented with the more organic stuff, like marijuana and shrooms, I think that there comes a point where you have to really take a look at the statistics. And obviously, not only has Russell Brand pointed out that, countries that don't make these things illegal obviously face less of a issue with addiction, but also, I feel that a lot of the time the problem really stems from the fact that we're not educated on these things. Because, there came a point where, I didn't even realize what the hell heroin was until a history teacher told me, and that's because he was hella cool. But when he explained to the class, the effects of it, and having actually seen it, and at one point even experienced it, it was easier for us to make that solid decision that, holy shit, I'm not touching heroin. And I think that's the problem, is the government not only has gone so far as to make all these things illegal, but also hasn't taken the action to make sure that people understand what the effects of this are and why they would make it illegal. Because the fact of the matter is, it's usually kids who aren't allowed to experiment with drinking or sex or drugs that are usually the ones that end up most involved with them because they're curious and they're also rebelling. But if you have an informed public, then you're more likely to be in a situation wherein less people are getting involved with these things, and when they do, it's obviously going to be in a situation wherein they're much more responsible. And especially with the U.S. slowly but surely opening up to medicinal marijuana, and the overall stance on it becoming less harsh, there's more of an opening for, like you said, the use of these drugs to be safer, because obviously you're not getting them from a drug dealer, and they're going to be for a obviously purer purpose, but obviously there's going to reach a point where it's not going to be medical. And honestly, when you think about it, there's so many economic advantages, because the fact of the matter is, when it comes to marijuana, if you tax that shit, people are still going to buy it. And when they buy it, government's making bank. And I don't see why they haven't done this sooner. Because that's the more, that's the option that makes sense the way I see it. Especially coming from the standpoint of someone who understands that I live in a capitalist society, and the only thing the government wants is money anyway. So, honestly, if they put more effort into educational programs and taxing and legalizing these drugs, and also putting effort into making sure that nobody gets deathly addicted to them, then all in all, they're going to be making more money than losing it.
Yeah, and an obvious point, and I'm going to throw out there anyway, is, well, they don't mind making money off taxing tobacco, which kills, I don't know exactly how many people a year, and alcohol you can actually overdose from, as came up last week, when I think it was somebody tried to claim recently that someone died of a marijuana overdose, and it turned out, of course, to be complete bullshit. And how many people are arrested because they were driving dangerously while stoned from marijuana versus drunk on alcohol. But I'm also going to actually go round again. Jen and Koki, because I'm really with the bun on the education thing. I won't say education's the be-all and the end-all, but I think there must be much more emphasis on education and far less on legislation. Going alphabetically, actually, Koki, your thoughts?
On education?
It should be a more treated as an educational issue rather than a criminal one.
Yeah, I suppose, generally informing people about these substances will do a lot of good. Particularly, things like alcohol. A lot of people seem to not think much about the amount of harm it does. When you drink in large quantities, they seem to think that, they'll be able to manage if they're just a little tipsy to drive a car or whatever. Yeah, and I'm thinking about legal substances, but also, other substances like marijuana, heroin, cocaine. A lot of people are pretty ignorant on the matter, and they just experiment it because a lot of times it's the first time that they hear about certain things. I remember someone was jokingly saying, is there a non-alphabetical difference between E and X? And, yeah, a lot of people, don't know what these drugs are. But, yeah, the thing about tobacco and alcohol, at least in the United States, the temperance movement did genuinely try to contain alcoholism. Or not alcoholism, they tried to contain alcohol, period. And, it proved to be a complete and utter failure.
Yep.
And while marijuana is not proving to be as disastrous, society is still functioning with marijuana illegal. I think that slowly but surely everyone's going to be learning that, what's important is to have campaigns like Don't Drink and Drive, and the other campaigns talking about the hazards of these substances. I'm just imagining those alcohol commercials except for marijuana. I'm not sure if they're the same in the UK, but pretty much any advertisement for alcohol, they always say, please drink responsibly and don't drink under 21. Like, really quick, like they're listing side effects. I guess you drink at 18, but do you have adverts for alcohol? And if so, do they have that little disclaimer at the end?
I don't think our adverts have disclaimers. The only rule with adverts is they can't advertise spirits anymore, but beer and wine are fine. But yes, I know what you mean. It's like the slogan, drugs are bad. Oh, okay then. But yeah, it's just, I think that they have stupid rules. Like they introduced 24-hour drinking at the same time as they have, now in London at least, if you look under 25, they card you. I'm actually quite flattered I still get carded. Woo! But yeah, the drinking age. Well, the age for consuming alcohol is 18, but parents can actually give children alcohol. That's where we're still European. You can have wine at the family dinner table,
It's 18 in Puerto Rico, by the way. I just see a lot of American adverts because, that's where most of the TV comes from.
And honestly, I mean, while there's a law against it in America, nobody pays attention. I mean, like I said, I've already experimented with these things.
Well, yes, of course. Okay, so, Jen, do you have any final thoughts regarding the drugs issue? Do you agree that that education should get the first priority?
Yes. Regarding education, though, I've noticed in the United States, at least, there's a lot of misinformation that's given by governments, and this could be used when giving these educations more of scare tactics. I mean, I live in Texas, and the way we deal with sex education is just horrible. I've actually heard a teacher say that condoms promote STDs.
Oh,
and, of course, our sex education, quote, air quotes, sex education, is basically abstinence is the only way. They don't talk about important things like preventing diseases or, consent or anything like that. And so, I don't know. The problem is that as much as I think education is good in an ideal world, the problem is some places, like Texas, might not exactly teach, and instead will be just propagating and scaring people out of it, saying like, if you do heroin, you're going to die immediately or something ridiculous, or marijuana, you don't want to explain to your mother that, you're having to go to the hospital because you're having an overdose, But yes, education, actual education, is what we need.
Yeah, we get bullshit here too, because we had the supposed scientific research that you can develop schizophrenia from having smoked one joint. And when I was a teenager, actually, I was about 14, 15, 16, they made a big deal. Ecstasy was the big thing, because the rave scene was big in the 90s. This girl called Leah Betts died the night that she took an ecstasy tablet. And the poster campaign was 1E killed Leah Betts. And that was the big government, anti-drugs campaign. 1E can kill you. What had happened was, she knew that E dehydrates you. So she overcompensated. So the actual cause of death was overhydration. She just didn't know you could die from overhydration. She just thought, I'm on E, better drink and drink and drink. And then obviously didn't know when to stop. Well, actually, so 1E can't kill you. There's no evidence it can. But know that you can't just dehydrate, you can also overhydrate. So, yeah, the fucked up campaign is worse than no campaign, because after you've discovered that, you think, oh, fuck it, you were talking out of your ass then. But if we're done with that topic, we have one final, extremely deeply serious topic here, which is, and I've lost the article, so I can't name the guy, but an anti-gay campaigner has come up with a really serious point in the same-sex marriage thing. If you allow same-sex marriage, and he claims this is backed up with research, if you allow same-sex marriage, this will encourage straight people to have more anal sex.
Oh my god, WTF barbecue.
I know. Well, obviously nobody wants that. So, the Bun, your thoughts on whether same-sex marriage causes straight couples to have anal, and how damaging this is to the moral fabric of our society?
Well, I would just like to say that as a resident of Chicago in Illinois, having been the 15th state to legalize gay marriage, I have most definitely had so much anal sex. Because, us lesbians like to do that. No, but seriously. The thing that gets me is it's like there's no specification of who you're having anal sex with. So it's like, are straight couples together gonna have anal sex? Are they gonna be pegging? Are they suddenly gonna go gay? Like, there's no specification here. So it's like, well, I mean, let's promote pegging, because bisexual guys want to have fun too, so, like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm almost more pro-gay marriage, because then it's like, sweet, more sexual experimentation.
Well, my attitude towards anal sex is that people shouldn't knock something if they haven't tried it, and you should try anything once.
It's definitely on my list of things to do.
Hooray! And you're in luck, of course, because you can buy a double intruder and get 2 for the price of 1.
Sweet.
But this is obviously written by someone who takes it as a basic assumption that it would be a bad thing if heteros have anal sex. But luckily, we have a hetero in the room. So, Koki, how disastrous do you think it is if straight people get it into their heads that they can have anal sex?
Well, a great man once said, they lick the anus, and sometimes the poo-poo comes out, and they're eating the poo-poo. Now, we need to ask President Obama, is this what he wants as a human right in Africa? I'm wondering if... Actually, I'm genuinely wondering if gays have more anal sex if they're married.
Ah, that's an interesting... Don't married couples just stop having sex? Isn't that part of it?
Yeah, it's something that we definitely need to do some research into, or maybe gays will be having more anal sex with knowledge of the possibility that they could get married, because now we're just encouraging them. And to quote this great man again, they have an act called fisting, where the man takes his fist and he presses it against the man's anus, and he just goes in all the way up to his elbow, and it hurts, but they like it, and they do drugs in order to do it. Yeah. It just seems like alarmist BS. You know, that's why I keep quoting Pastor Poo-Poo on this. It's just hilarious. But in terms of hetero couples having more anal sex because of this, that would be an interesting correlation, but it seems about as likely as gay marriage causing floods and earthquakes.
Yeah, probably.
What are you talking about? There's been like 10 earthquakes here.
And Jen, your thoughts on this?
Well, I just want to make a point that anal sex has been legal in France since 1791, and gay marriage has only been since 2013, so they've been having gay sex for 200 years, anal sex for 200 years before same-sex marriage, so I guess it works in the opposite way. When we legalize sodomy, that's when it starts.
Oh.
And, of course, even before that, I remember reading about in Tasmania, it was illegal, but no one really enforced the law or whatnot, and so people would basically go up to police and say, hey, I violated this law. What law is that? Oh, you know, we did it up the bum, and but no one would do anything about that. But, and that's the thing, the laws don't really affect whether or not people are going to be fucking each other up the ass and stuff, and, you know, maybe some rare straight couples will be like, gay marriage is now legal in our country. You know, I've always wanted to try anal. What do you think of that? Yeah, sure, what size strap-on should I get? You know, it's just, I could see that sometimes happening, but I don't think people are going to be doing that on a big scale, and seriously,
I'm wondering
who cares?
how many people have a very specific fetish of gay marriage being legal in their state and having anal sex during that point. Yes.
Clearly you've never met me.
I think actually I wish I had thought of this earlier. When they legalized same-sex marriage here, I should have celebrated with like extra anal sex. Everybody should have. It should have been like a block party thing.
Now I'm imagining like extra anal sex, like you
like
have
two
sex with
dicks
an
in your
extra
ass.
anus.
Oh.
You know, there's the regular anus, there's a medium anus, and then there's extra anus.
I'd love to order that.
Extra anus.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd like some gay sex. Extra anus.
I'd like some extra
Would you like
anus
to
with my
supersize
sausage.
that?
Sorry, Kogi?
No, I said, would you like to supersize that?
I definitely would. Well,
You know,
that was... sorry, carry on. No, carry
I
on.
just wanted to say, why do people associate anal sex with, I guess, homosexuality anyway? For one thing, you know, lesbians tend not to have anal sex. I mean, of course they can, but it's not necessarily something. And even then, gay men don't necessarily all have anal sex. I've known gay men who actually think it's gross.
Yep, me too. Yep, and actually with male partners I haven't necessarily had anal sex. It is just a very heteronormative assumption that it must be penetrative in a way that's somehow similar to most straight sex. I think that's what that is.
I remember... Sorry.
Like, one of the men must, quote-unquote, be the woman. Sorry, carry on.
Oh, I was just saying, I remember years ago, like early high school, maybe late middle school, don't remember, there were some lesbians, a lesbian who people were asking her, like, how do you guys have sex? Because I guess they couldn't imagine two women doing that. And so she basically explained and whatnot, and it's kind of interesting because they don't have any, I guess, sexual penetrative organs, quote unquote, because fingers and stuff like that are organs that we have. But whatchamacallit, it's sort of amusing that people assume that there must be some sort of penetration or else it's not sex.
Yeah.
See, if I were a lesbian, I would just say that we call the stork and it delivers the baby.
I've actually told people that our idea of sex is sacrificing people to dragons.
Lovely.
Yeah, that's my favourite porn. Rule 34. We've come full circle and we're back to Dragon Sex.
Continuity!
Yay!
Which is something that we do better than Stephen Moffat.
So are we covering all the topics again?
Sorry?
Are we going to cover all the topics again?
I could do a quick wrap-up.
We also do drugs while we sacrifice people to dragons?
Yes, while having anal sex.
And watching Frozen.
And a lot of the people we sacrifice are well-behaved Mormon women.
And we sacrifice Satan by watching Frozen.
Yes.
Yep.
There you go.
Well-behaved Mormon women having anal.
Because your husband told you to. Wouldn't that work?
I'm not sure if Mormons have an official stance on anal sex. I can't think of anything on the matter. Yeah, there's probably some obscure scripture, but nothing's coming to mind.
I'm not thinking of Koki as, like, our Mormon spy. He's like how we get the inside scoop on the Mormons' plan.
Exactly. So, that's all the topics covered, so I'm going to try and do a brief closing, and I can't think of anything to say for my goodbye. My sign-off will actually just be, well-behaved Mormon woman. And the band, I'm sorry, I probably stole yours there, but if you want to do your sign-off, your goodbye.
Dragon sex!
Dragon sex for the win. And Koki?
May the hamster of prosperity rest upon your heads.
And you two, and all of us. And Jen?
Au revoir, connard.
Okay, good night, YouTube. Good night, everyone.